The following podcast contains explicit language because, frankly, I am tired of editing out Sonia's swearing. She cannot help it. It's a constant problem, and I'm just tired of dealing with it. So you've been warned.
Smith.
Here it comes.
Fuck you. This episode is brought to you by
The Martha Wayne Foundation, a patron of the arts in Gotham City since 1979.
Houston, flight is go.
Myla, let's go. SPM. Safety contact.
From Assignment X, Amalgamated Storytelling, and thesoniashow.com, it's The Dorking Out Show with Christopher Allen Smith and Sonia Mansfield.
Welcome to episode 82 of Dorking Out, a podcast for people who like to dork out about stories and the stories and culture that we love. That means movies and TV, books and podcasts, and everywhere else we find stories that interest us. This is the Great Family Movies edition. With me today is my co-host, Emmy Award-winning filmmaker, nerd author, and guy with a really bad cough, Christopher Allen Smith.
Hey, Sonia, how's it going?
Good.
This is the sound of my animated corpse.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
First off, we need to apologize. Mainly
First
me.
off, you need to introduce me.
Oh, right. Sorry. No, that's second off. First off, sorry. No. With me today is my co-host, professional writer and author of The Sonia Show, which is a day-by-day account of my slow descent into mortality.
This
Sonia
is true.
Mansfield.
This is true.
She's counting the days.
I am. Tick, 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 tick.
God. This is a hell of a way to start a episode about family movies. Anyway.
Yay!
Hi, Sonia. How are you doing?
I'm good.
Good.
I'm sorry that you are so sick.
I am sorry, too.
I am sorry that your body has finally matched what's on the inside. Sick. You are a sick man.
I would like to refute that, but I was in the middle of a coughing jag, so I had to mute my microphone. And you are also, unfortunately, telling a little bit of the truth. I have to apologize, though, to our fans, all 15 of them.
To our tens of fans.
For our tardiness with this episode. This episode was supposed to come out somewhere around Christmas Day as a little listicle that you could take with you. So if you needed movies that you could watch with your grandma, your parents, yourself, and your kids, movies that everybody could love, everybody could get into, we were going to have our list ready for you, and we have our list ready for you. But if you're anything like my family, you've already hung out, you've already come home from your Christmas trip, and now you're at home. So you might be doing the week after Christmas hangout or not having to work thing.
Yeah, I don't even know what day it is.
Exactly. So, which is a nice way to live. So, that is a long and rambling way to say we've got some movies for you to watch with your family that, you know, like a lot of times when you're going to try to watch a movie that, during the holidays or Thanksgiving or whatever, usually it defaults to, well, what's a cartoon the kids can watch? And I guess maybe the parents can kind of stare at the screen or something or whatever. But we wanted to give a movie that everybody, I mean, one of the things that's great about movies, and I would even say the best movies, are movies that have something for every age from 9 to 90, from 6 to 60. These are your Star Wars. These are your Wizard of Oz's. These are your E.T.'s. Or the 4 movies that we have chosen for you today. So, Sonia Mansfield.
So, yes.
Before we got going on this episode, I asked you what one of the movies were that you picked because I did not recognize it.
Yeah.
And you gave me quite a smart-ass answer, if I do say so myself.
Yes, you said what is a town called Panic? And I said, it's my pick.
That's right. That's right. That's how
That's all you need to know.
That's how Sonia Mansfield greeted me while I sat at death's door, working up the last of my strength to do one of the final episodes of the Dorking Out Show before I kick off this mortal coil, and and that's the kind of camaraderie that my co-host of these many, many, many years,
These 30 years.
that's right, has shown me. So now that we're on mic, now that you have to answer because it's for the good of our audience.
Yes. This is a 2009 French animated movie, but it's animated with like plastic toys, so it's kind of robot chicken-esque, if you will.
Whoa.
And it's about a cowboy and an Indian, and I say Indian because that's his name, but he's a Native American, and a horse that all live together, because why wouldn't they all live together in a little village called Panic? And the horse is kind of the leader, kind of the father figure, and the cowboy and the Indian they get into all kinds of trouble. It is a really funny movie. It's just it's really short. I mean, I don't even think it's 90 minutes. And it's about like how cowboy and Indian forgot that it was horse's birthday. And so they order all these bricks to build a barbecue, and they order too many bricks, and it basically destroys the village, and hilarity ensues. Now, David and I, my husband and I, saw this in the theater, and it was so funny. And I just recently thought about it quite randomly and showed it to my son, and he has been watching it nonstop for a week.
Is it in French?
It is, but it has English subtitles.
Oh,
And it's really, really funny. And Calvin had it on Christmas Eve, and my mother-in-law was here, and she watched it with him, and she's like, "What is this movie?" And I said, "It's my pick."
Jesus.
No, I'm just kidding.
So you see, she does this even to her own suffering mother.
I'm a dick to everyone. She really loved it. She thought it was really super funny.
Well,
So I felt very confident in my pick that this is a good family movie. It is very ridiculous. It is very silly. There's nothing to argue about. There's nothing political about it. It is just very ridiculous and funny. It is the first stop-motion animation movie ever to play at the Cannes Film Festival. Just FYI.
Really?
Yep.
No other stop-motion movie ever played it? Well, I would venture to say that that's more a knock on Cannes than it is a knock on stop-motion movies.
Yeah.
But, all right.
It is streaming right now on Amazon Prime.
Okay.
And if you should check it out. It's called A Town Called Panic. And they have, they also did a series. I guess there's short episodes. They're like 5 minutes each. And they've done like a Christmas special and things like that. But I actually haven't watched those yet. I've only watched the movie.
Oh, wow. All right. Well, cool. Well, hell, that is a fantastic pick.
Thank you. I think you would like it a lot, actually. I think you should watch it. Cool. You, in particular, Smith, should watch it.
I will do that. And this is not one of those I will do that. Where I will do that. Yeah. This is not one of those situations where I say I'll do it, but I won't really do it. I will really do it at some point in my life while I still live.
Which may not be for much longer.
Actually, yeah. You know what? I shouldn't have couched it like that. I gotta get. In fact, I gotta pause this right now so I can make sure to watch this.
What is one of your picks?
One of my picks is a movie that sometimes there are those movies that you almost forget that you've seen. I don't. There's got to be a word for these.
Yeah, they're called bad movies.
Oh God. You're going to feel so guilty when I say what this movie is, because the fact that you said something like that about this movie in particular should make you ashamed of yourself. They're movies that are good. You want to watch them every time you come across them, But when you're sitting down trying to think of a movie to watch, they're not the ones that pop to mind for some reason. They're almost kind of like hidden gems, even though you've already seen them. This could just be a thing within my own mind as the Alzheimer's slowly closes in. My God, this is a morbid episode. You know what? I got to apologize right now.
Let's talk about family movies.
That's right. I got to apologize right now
and
because
death.
these are all great movies, and this is a great list. But this has got to be the most counterintuitive tone for an episode about family movies. I really apologize.
Smith,
people.
tell me about your next pick.
My next pick is from directors Chris Weitz and Paul Weitz, based on a novel by Nick Hornby, starring Hugh Grant, Nicholas Hoult, and Toni Collette. This is 2002's About a Boy, which is about kind of a cynical bachelor guy that, for various reasons, becomes friends with a bullied kid in his neighborhood. And it is just one of the sweetest, nicest, just perfectly toned movies about kind of an older guy that doesn't really have a family, that's kind of thinks only of himself. And, on paper, it's one of those movies like, oh, come on, give me a break. Where kind of the cynical hipster bachelor, late 20s, early 30s guys that's kind of drifting through life, dating a lot of women, not really making any connections, inadvertently finds himself becoming more of a person, more of a thinking, feeling human being by kind of being chosen as a father figure by Nick Hornby. And it is, I'm sorry.
By Nicholas Hoult.
By Nicholas Hoult. I got my Nicks mixed up.
From Mad Max Fury Road, right?
That's right. That's right.
So he's the little boy, but, in Mad Max Fury Road, he's all chrome and shiny.
That's right. So if you want to, you can take this as an extreme prequel to Mad Max Fury Road.
That makes it even better.
What I would suggest is you watch About a Boy, then you watch, I don't know, The Day After, then you watch the Mad Max series up until Mad Max Fury Road. That is one hell of a 5-movie series.
I'm into it.
You know what? At some point, we do need to do an episode on unintentional movie series.
Yeah. Okay. I'm writing it down.
And this will be the prequel to Mad Max Fury Road.
Okay.
So About a Boy, that's it. It's just one of those movies that doesn't get a lot of love, doesn't get a lot of discuss. Seems like to almost to have been forgotten, but it's those movies for some reason that they're just it's just so sweet, and it's got one of those great endings where all of the pipe that's been laid at the beginning, you kind of see the ending coming, but even though you can see it coming, even though you're cynical and you're a hard-hearted person and you say it's not going to get me once it finally comes, this movie, it gets you in the end. It is also peak Hugh Grant.
Absolutely.
Between about 1994 and 2005, Hugh Grant was in a lot of movies that it was fun to watch Hugh Grant be Hugh Grant. I think it was somewhere around the prostitution bust where it stopped becoming fun.
Right. I think that so this is based on a book by Nick Hornby, and Nick Hornby also wrote High Fidelity, and I think these movies are very similar in that they're kind of about these like man-child,
right,
characters that have to grow up, whether through their romantic relationships or he does with his relationship with this boy. It is definitely a really good movie, and I know what I was teasing you with, bad movies are forgotten. Bad movies are never forgotten because they're so awful. You're like, I'll never forget that I saw that. But there are a lot of these smaller, quieter movies that you see and then you forget that you saw them. And they're not the kind that you just put on when you're screwing around the house or
Right.
whatever, you know? And I think that's one of those movies.
You know what it is? I think this is what it is classics get remembered because they're so good that they leave an impression. Bad movies don't get forgotten for the reasons that you said, but it's the movies that are better than just good, but they're not quite great.
Right.
Where they kind of, like I would say Rocky 3 is a perfect example of a good movie. Where it's good, you like it, you remember liking it, you remember seeing it, so it sticks in your mind. Classics stick in your mind, and it's this weird, almost classic level that they just kind of slip your mind. And maybe it's just me that About a Boy slips my mind, but no, this is also not like an Adam Sandler, Will Ferrell Arrested Development type guy.
Right. This isn't Big Daddy.
Right. This is a realistic, Arrested Development type person that, I don't know. It's just such a sweet
It's
movie.
not cartoony.
It's not cartoony. It's just so good.
Yeah.
So
it's a good one.
Sonia Mansfield, what is your next movie?
This is not just like, I think it is underappreciated, but it's one of my favorites. Like when I see it's on, I'm like, oh, Parenthood's on. So of course I'm talking about Parenthood from 1989. It's directed by Ron Howard and it stars Steve Martin and Mary Steenburgen and Rick Moranis, Diane Weiss, Keanu Reeves, Martha Plimpton, Jason Robards, and a very young Joaquin Phoenix. And I really loved this movie when I first saw it. I thought there were funny parts. And now as a parent, I love it even more and I appreciate it even more. And it's about like this, about this family and kind of their different stories and how they're all interconnected. So like, Steve Martin and Mary Steenburgen have 3 kids and one of them kind of has like an anxiety disorder. And so they're like navigating, and he's like playing softball with the boy all the time and trying to do all these things to build up his confidence. And Steve Martin's also very neurotic. And then she finds out she's pregnant and he doesn't know if he wants to have another kid. And the movie's a comedy, but also has these very serious things about like what it means to be a parent and what it means to be family that just hits me like in the chest, like every time I watch it. Like this movie played at my movie theater that I worked at. And I was just a kid. I was like 18 when I saw it, and the end still made me cry. And I watch it as an adult and it just makes me bawl every time. I love this movie.
Yeah.
I love the Keanu Reeves is like, this is like right around like Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. Keanu Reeves, he's very dopey and he gives this very deep monologue about like how like anybody can have you have to get a license to drive a car or to go fishing,
right.
but any asshole can have kids basically. And then like after he delivers the line, he does this like he like shakes it off like it was too deep for him. And It just makes me laugh. Like he's like, ugh! Like, and it just makes me laugh like every time.
Right. Yeah. Listen to this cast. I know that you said this, but I brought up, as you were talking, I brought up the Internet Movie Database for this. And it's just what I wouldn't give for this cast to be assembled again. Steve Martin, Mary Steenburgen, Diane Weiss, Jason Robards, Rick Moranis. This might be one of Rick Moranis' last movies. Tom Hulse, Martha Plimpton, Keanu Reeves, Joaquin Phoenix. Holy
I said
smokes.
all this, you know that.
You
right?
did. Yes, you did. But I'm just like...
I did leave out, I forgot Tom Hulse. And he actually plays a really interesting character, too, because Jason Robards and I can't remember the actress that plays his wife. Anyway, Tom Hulse is their son, and he's kind of this screw up.
Right.
Who's always like, he just comes back to town to like bum money off of them. And, he comes back to town and surprise, he's just like, he owes a lot of money to like gamblers, and he brings with him like a small boy that's his son, it turns out. Like a little African-American boy who's his son.
Right.
And the way Jason Robards takes in that boy and they have this really sweet moment where he's, tells the little boy, like, asks him if he wants to live with them. And the little boy says yes. And I'm like, like every time.
Yeah.
But I do want to talk about, there's this one scene in the movie. I'm just going to go on and on because I love this movie so much. But there's this one scene that I super love so much. And it's when Mary Steenburgen and Steve Martin are having like kind of an argument about the fact that she's pregnant because
Right.
their life is so crazy and hectic. And he's scared that like the next child is going to be just really messed up. And she's like, but what if he isn't? What if he is? But what if he isn't? What if he is? And then the grandmother comes in and she tells the story about like, when I was a little girl, I like to go on the roller coaster. It goes up and down and,
Right.
it makes me feel so scared and so excited. But some people just like the merry-go-round because it just goes up and down and around. And, where's the thrills? Where's the excitement? Blah. And of course, it's like this, it's supposed to be a metaphor for life, right? Like,
Right.
she's trying to say like, hey, like, take it as it comes. Life's exciting, blah, blah, blah. And she leaves the room and like then Mary Steenburgen says, your grandmother's so smart. And he's like, yeah, I was so worried about life. And then grandma came in with her roller coaster story. And now I feel so much better. And then she goes out and sits in the, she leaves the room and he's like, and if she's so smart, why is she sitting in the neighbor's car?
Oh boy! Oh, I forgot about that. Directed by, you probably already said this too, so I apologize.
Ron Howard.
Directed by Ron Howard. This was before he was the murder. I don't know.
Yeah,
What's a
this
good
is
word for it?
before like
This
this
is
is before like A Beautiful Mind. This is before Apollo 13. This is, like pre like Oscar contender Ron
Right.
Howard.
This is when he was still thought of as like, oh yeah, he used to be an actor, and yeah, he's directed some stuff that's not bad.
But there's so many things in this movie that are funny because they're true.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, and I think the kids are really great in it too. And I think it's a really good family movie. I mean, there might be a few things that are like inappropriate for like a younger audience. There's some jokes about vibrators and stuff, but like it's pretty sedate compared to a PG-13 movie now, to be honest. So I think it's a great family movie.
Yes, it is fantastic. You know what it is? I'm looking at Parenthood, and I think this is right before, because he had done Splash, Cocoon, Gung Ho, and Willow. So this was right before he really went from, he's a pretty good director, I guess, to Ron Howard is one of the better directors working for that, Yeah, so he had, his next movie was Backdraft, Far and Away, then it was The Paper, Apollo 13, Ransom, Ed TV. That's, was not fantastic. But, which bums me out. Ed TV is the movie I got to interview him about, and that's where his kind of first burst of great movies.
It has such an interesting idea.
Yeah,
it just wasn't executed very well. But now we're gonna get off topic here.
Well, yeah, and it also came out the same year as The Truman Show, which what are you gonna do?
Did it way better?
Yeah, exactly. So, all right.
What is your last family movie pick?
My last family movie pick, I've said many times on this podcast that my ideal movie would be The Godfather with spaceships.
Right.
Something deep or whatever, a deep, meaningful examination of the human condition, but at the same time you have cool space fights and explosions and aliens and monsters. This movie is the kind of movie that in my older, more seasoned years where I've kind of gotten to the age in my pop culture diet where I know what I like and I not just want what I want, but I know that there's certain movies that are just maybe not for me. Some of the more Oscar baity movies that are maybe more respectable or whatever. It's just, they're not for me. But this movie, I think hits all of the different quadrants of what a really good movie does. And I respect movies like this even more than the Oscar baiting movies. This is the Pixar's 2004 The Incredibles, which is on one level it's just a fun, fantastic comic book superhero movie. On another level, it's the level of difficulties, and it's a kind of a family drama about the real struggles parents have bringing up their kids, almost similar to Parenthood. Actually, you know what? Now that I think about this, so I made the joke. Okay, I would like The Godfather crossed with Star Wars. That would be it. The Incredibles is Parenthood crossed with The Avengers. That's what it is. So it works, and when a movie can work on several different levels at once and hit all of them with some finesse and some humor and some thought and some cleverness, it's just one of the most rewarding, fun movie experiences that are out there. The Incredibles is it's the story of a family of superheroes who live in a world where superheroes have been outlawed, but they still kind of have the drive to save people and do all this stuff. And it's just so much fun. It's also, a family drama mixed with a superhero comedy, mixed with an early 60s James Bond movie. It's just
Right.
so much fun, and so many, kind of like Star Wars, where you have Brad Bird, who wrote and directed The Incredibles. He has such a deep knowledge of certain kinds of movies where it's a little bit like George Lucas in the original Star Wars, or like Quentin Tarantino, where they have such an encyclopedic knowledge of these different types of movies that they pull all these references from, put them into their own movie, mix them with their own creativity, and nobody could make a movie like The Incredibles. Nobody could make a movie like Brad Bird can make when he made this. His previous movie, can you imagine being Brad Bird and you go from The Iron Giant?
Which I've never seen.
What?
I've never seen The Iron Giant.
Oh, Sonia. Oh, well, okay, let me finish this thought. You go from The Iron Giant to The Incredibles. It's kind of like Francis Ford Coppola going from Godfather 1 to Godfather 2. So, Sonia, you have got to see The Iron Giant.
I know.
I could have easily. We gotta.
It's on my Netflix list too.
Oh, it is.
I just know it's gonna make me cry, isn't it? That's why I haven't watched it yet.
It will. Yes, it will. But in the best way. It's you want to cry like this. And it's not one of those movies that's going to leave you feeling bad. It's going to leave you feel like $1 million. Feeling
All
like
right.
$1 million. So it's great. Anyway, sorry.
I want to say I love The Incredibles. I think it's an awesome movie. I've watched it 1,000,000 times with my niece when she was younger. I want to ask you though, do you really think it's underappreciated?
As a family movie, I do. Because I think what's happened with The Incredibles, especially after the ways of comic book movies, is people see it and they go, oh, this is just, it's just a comic book movie or whatever, or it's just an adventure movie. And when I think about family movies...
You think it's underappreciated for the family drama aspect.
Right, but also I think that movies that can play as well with kids as they can with adults, as they can with grandparents. There's a movie that can pull that off is a very special thing. And The Incredibles is one of those movies that it can be, a favorite movie of the kids, a favorite movie of the grown-ups, and a favorite movie of the grandparents. Like, it is really that good. And a movie that can do that, those are special things. Those really are. I mean, any movie that can do that, I would say, is probably underappreciated because that's one of the hardest hat tricks in movie making. Sometimes kids will love a movie, parents will be fine with it, and grandparents will be, I guess we could sit down and I guess I'll sit through it, that kind of thing.
Right.
But there's few movies where or all of them are just, leave the theater or leave the TV room jumping up and down with joy. And The Incredibles, I would say, is that kind of movie. And plus,
I would agree with that.
One of the things that we didn't talk about here, and we probably should have put this in the intro, is finding a movie that you can sit through with your grandparents. That's, that's a tough kind of thing because kids want to see a certain kind of movies. Teenagers want to see a movie that would almost be off-putting to grandparents kind of thing.
Right.
Or grandparents would want to watch a movie that would bore teenagers to death. So to find a movie that can engage all of those different age levels is, I have said this, special. And, About a Boy, The Incredibles, Parenthood, and I'll take your word for A Time Called Panic, these all do that. So
I absolutely think that's true.
That is all I have to say.
Is there a family movie that in the past has been put on at your family functions that you were like, oh, God?
Yes. I made a very dumb thing. I used to have a screening room in one of my houses in Chico. Or a previous house in Chico. It's not like I have several houses in Chico.
He's so rich, you guys.
And some Thanksgiving or something, I thought it would be fun to sit down with my dad, my sister, and watch Being John Malkovich. And
well, to be fair now, they're adults, so it's not like a family movie, but you put it on and they were like, no. They weren't into it.
No, they were not into it. And it was like, part of it is like, oh, I like this movie. It's a little bit challenging. Let's try to put it through. And it had been several years since I'd seen it. So I was like, oh my God, I forgot how just goddamn weird this movie is.
Yeah.
So, yes. So, which circles back to finding a movie that you can watch with everybody that's enjoyable and not lowest common denominator stuff is special. So, Sonia Mansfield.
Yes.
Now that we have given this fantastic list of movies, is there anything else you'd like to say before I start my next coughing chat?
I'm just going to say goodbye.
Bye! The Dorking Out Show is on Twitter at Dorking Out Show, where you can also find me at Jet Juergens and Sonia at The Sonia Show.
And you can read all about my random adventures at my blog, thesoniashow.com, and track the slow, creeping process of Chris's novel and his other hijinks at jetjuergens.com.
Yeah, you know what? Go right over there right now and see how much is going on jetjuergens.com. Anyway, it'll be fun. It'll be like a trip back to 2016. Anyway, you can find out more about the Dorking Out Show at dorkingoutshow.com, and while you're over there, you can support us by giving us a review on Apple Podcasts. Please, for the love of God, for some reason, Apple Podcasts holds our destiny in their hands, so go over there and give us a rating, please. Sorry.
We would do it for you. We have a handy link on our website. It'll whisk you right over there so you can gush your love all over us.
This is disgusting.
It's disgusting.
Why did you write it like
I think
this, Sonia?
you
I
wrote
didn't
like
write
that.
it like this. I don't like this.
We would gush love all over you and your podcast.
Yeah, we would do that. Anyway, point
Gushing.
is, I think we might be re-recording this here in a moment.
Gushing.
Jesus. What kind of podcast are you turning this into?
One that people will listen to.
This has been a presentation of Rocket Spots Media.